Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Whew. It's like we're walking through a doorway and there's a lot of epiphanies that are coming into our awareness. And that's because there's some astrological influences that we're all navigating through. The cards, of course, are speaking to that. So let's go ahead and start talking about them, and then I also will touch on the transits that it's referring to as well, because we are moving into a grand fixed cross, which means that basically there's this cross in the fixed signs of the zodiac signs, and the fixed signs are all pretty stable energies. So when you have a grand cross in these signs, and all of them, as a matter of fact, it can be an energy that causes things to move and change. And regardless of how much you want things to change, it is in a lot of ways calling you to task to step into something outside of what you know and outside of what you've experienced. And as much as that may cause some kind of trepidation or concern, consider that all of these alignments have shown up in a way to encourage you to step into, another chapter in your life, or to, in a lot of ways, shed your skin. Because the sign of Scorpio, which is where the South Node is right now, has a association with a snake that is kind of sitting back and coiled and waiting. And when we consider just the snake energy itself, it grows outside of its skin. It has to shed its skin every year with its new growth. And so what is it in your own life that you need to let drop away? What is it in your own life that you've outgrown and that you need to let go of so that you can actually move forward in the area that you feel called to? So our opening card for the day, opening energy, is the King of Swords. Now this is all about the power of knowledge. It's also associated with Aquarius energy, which is where we have Pluto right now. Pluto is in retrograde. It's actually just at 0 degrees of Aquarius right now. And so it's going to be in the sign of Aquarius for a good amount of time, because it takes Pluto the longest amount of time to move around the whole zodiac wheel or the whole horoscope. And so it can spend around 8 to 20 years in any particular zodiac sign. So it's considered a generational influence. And so it's going to be creating transformation in the area of Aquarius, which is why we're also starting to see all of these developments going on through technology at this current time. And we're going to see a lot more development over, the next 10 to 20 years. Now, when this shows up as an energy, it can have a couple of different meanings by way of the King of Swords. It can be speaking of friendships, and perhaps some friendships that are really stepping forward to kind of help give you some perspective in what you're working with right now. And consider that Aquarius is also the power of knowledge. It's because it's fixed air, right? It's stable air, it's stable knowing, stable communications. And so this is our opening energy today, and it's in a lot of ways asking you, where are you anchoring yourself in the mind, and what are you able to gather in that space in the realm of what you need to work with and what you need to transform in your life. As an example, for me, myself, I have Aquarius in my 6th house, which is associated with, day-to-day routines and preventative health, and also your physical job. So I'm experiencing a lot of calling to task, so to speak, in my daily routines and how I set myself up in regard to how I wake up in the morning. Am I doing a sitting? Am I doing yoga? Am I eating breakfast? Am I not eating breakfast? Am I just waiting until the middle of the afternoon? And that makes me have a lot more anxiety, right? So we're gathering all of this information, hence this opening card of the King of Swords. The challenge that we have is the Ace of Wands. So if you imagine that you're carrying a single wand or even a staff, right? It allows for this energy of moving in a specific direction. It's also associated with the element of fire. So there's this inspiration or this new idea or this kind of initiation because it's fire, right? And when we have fire come onto the table, it connotes a sense of will and willfulness. So it's like something is being awakened in you, and it's challenging you to look at how you live your life and perhaps what you need to change in your life. Now, the way to get through the challenge came in by the Lover's card, and we will have a couple of major arcanas showing up today. And whenever we have those, they basically are life lessons. Now, the Lover's card is a card about communication. It's also a card about relationship and asking us how we show up to relationship and how we want to be in relationship and what calls us to be in relationship. This card is governed by the planet of Mercury. And if you've been watching, or if the stars, or, you know, the movements of the planets, and, or even been watching my videos, you might recall that Mercury has been in retrograde for a little while, and it just moved out of retrograde. It is now going over its like shadow area, which is basically like when Mercury went retrograde, it went visibly backwards, and it went back, you know, a number of degrees, and now it's going to be going back over that retrograde shadow. So it's going to be going over all of the places that it's been in review. And what's so interesting to me about this is that if we look at where things are today, right, by way of the planets, Mercury is up here in Taurus, and it's in really close proximity to Jupiter, which is going to be moving into Taurus tomorrow. It's at 29 degrees today. And Jupiter is going to be bringing in a very big, expansive energy into this area of Taurus in your chart. Now, that can cause some rattling. It can cause some things kind of being bigger than they may than they may actually be. But it also can bring about a lot of expansion and growth depending on where Taurus is in your natal chart, right? Whether it's in the first house, the second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house, seventh house, all the way through to the 12th house. All of those houses have different energies. And so the Taurus placement in your chart is going to be telling of this big expansive energy that we are going to be moving through for the next year, because Jupiter will be in the sign of Taurus for the next year. It takes about 12 years to move around the whole horoscope, and so it'll be here bringing expansion to this area of your life. Now, what's interesting to me about that is that Mercury, as I was just talking about, has been in retrograde, and so it kind of moved into proximity of coming into close relationship with Jupiter. So I think we're starting to see the path, so to speak. And, you know, if you look over here, you'll see that the Sun and Uranus are at close proximity. They were just in major conjunction, which is also lending to a lot of the epiphanies or awakening ideas or new ways of seeing things that we've, you know, perhaps received in the last couple of days. So pretty interesting energy that Mercury is on the table. And Mercury governs our communications. It governs how we exchange with people. It also governs how we think about things, because it's associated with the element of air, and it governs the mind. So, you know, putting our thoughts in order, and also considering how we enter into exchange is our part of the way through our challenge, and also considering what we want to bring to exchange. A friend of mine and I were talking recently about, when we sit down to a table, what do we bring to the table? You know, as far as exchange with our friends and our family and our community. And do we bring something to exchange that allows for some expansion in an idea or in a perspective? Or do we bring something to exchange that just shuts everything down? You know, air can be really stagnant when it's confined in a small space versus when it's left to flow, right? Like a breeze. And so perhaps that can lend a different quality of consideration to our communications and how we exchange with one another. The ultimate outcome, the energies of the ultimate outcome are so interesting, you guys. We have the moon, and we are going to be having a new moon in a few days, and it'll be a very, very, very powerful new moon, considering that Jupiter will also be in Taurus. And this new moon will be at, you know, a later degree of Taurus, because of course we're moving out of that Taurus sign in about a week or so. But the interesting aspect of this is that right now, the moon is just a few degrees away from Chiron. So it's passing over Chiron, and then it will pass over Jupiter, and then it will come into its new moon phase. So I do believe that there is some kind of expansion or some kind of help that is going to be brought to our emotional being before we realize the door that we are getting ready to step into. And when you consider that we're in a waning moon, right? The moon is starting to lose its light visibly because it is getting closer and closer to the sun. This is a time of really allowing yourself to let go of things, right? Like if you're getting on a ship, what's essential for you to have to aboard that ship, and what is just going to be some unnecessary dead weight that you just kind of carry around with you that really doesn't serve you in any kind of practical way. So this is a really powerful time to review that and consider that, because the moon is going to be going through those kind of gauntlet gateways of Chiron, and then Jupiter, and then Mercury, and even then Uranus, before it comes into that new moon phase with the sun in just a couple of days on, I believe, the 19th. Just to double check. Dun, 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 dun. No, on the 8th. Nope, that's June. Ha ha ha. I was like, that's weird. That's not what I was thinking. Yeah. So, because the moon moves so fast, it's actually going to be on the 19th. I was right the first time. So what is it that you need to reevaluate so that you can get back on the path, right? Because the moon card, when it shows up, it's telling of us that we've been kind of led astray, and that if you feel the call to climb up the mountain, it's time to get on the path and understand that each step you take toward it is going to forge you in that direction. It was clarified by Jupiter, you guys. So that, of course, just is even more profound to me, because Jupiter is this expansive energy, and it's going to be coming into this close connection with the moon over the next, because today is what, the 17th? So over the next couple of days, because it'll be the 19th that we're going to have a new moon. So this energetic of combining the moon with Jupiter is like some kind of help being brought to our emotional center that really re-anchors us in our beliefs and what we're opening up to in the coming year in our lives. Further clarified by the 8 of Swords, which to me is like really telling of this space and time where Mercury is going to be going over its retrograde shadow. It'll be coming out of shadow at the beginning of June. And so I think there will be this really big kind of surge of energy in regard to communications and interactions in the realm of Mercury. And so whenever we see like the 8 of Swords, it kind of is telling of this energetic of wasting our energy in an area that's not going to give us any fruit or any harvest, right? And so I think a lot of this eclipse cycle that we've been going through has really allowed us to examine that, like where we've let ourselves off of our own path, and how important it is for us to get on our path, and where we've expended effort that ultimately took time and energy away from the areas that we feel like we really need to develop in our lives. And, you know, the interesting thing about the 8 of Swords, because it does seem pretty limiting and not very encouraging, it lends this quality of time because it's a number 8 and a allowing of cycles. And if you look at the card closely, you'll see that there's, you know, sun breaking through the clouds, and it is, in a lot of ways, it's reminding us of that. You know, right now when we look at Mercury, it's in this retrograde shadow, and then it is going to be going over the path of the sun. And so we're going to be seeing this sun breaking through the clouds, this new awareness, this new light that we've been able to gather through this Mercury retrograde period. And then the final card, of course, was this Page of Cups. And we see someone looking into a cup that has a little fish in it. This is associated with the sign of Pisces. And we have Saturn up in Pisces right now. And it is a position which is in sextile to the North Node. And This also is bringing about a quality of reflection and some kind of doorway that we are going through, because Pisces is the sign that is where we turn things over and bring things up to God to be healed and resolved. And then we also dissolve our lower nature so that we can grow into the new form of ourselves. And a lot of, in that aspect, because Pisces is the last sign before Aries, it lends this kind of energetic or quality of like a doorway to a new beginning, or a doorway to a new evolution of self. And when we consider that Saturn is over in Pisces right now, and Pisces has this energy of like the vastness of the ocean, right? It's full of dreams and illusions and possibilities, and Neptune has been there, and now Saturn has moved in and will be there for the next 2.5 years, bringing us to a sense of accountability and bringing us to a sense of clarity around where we need to have responsibility in that area of self-development in our lives, whether that's working with, our addictions, whether that's working with our daily habits, whether that's working with our relationships, whether that's, having sobriety around our financial situation or our living situation or our job situation. Saturn is going to assist us in doing that. And I say that with a little lift of the eyebrow, because it's not necessarily an easy energy, but it is a very helpful and timely energy. So lots of powerful things showing up on the table today. I honestly do think this reading is really telling of the next 2 weeks through June 1st, because of the qualities of Mercury on the table, as well as Jupiter. So, Mercury is moving over its retrograde shadow right now and will be coming into new energetics on June. And that's when it's going to be passing over Uranus, and we're going to be getting even more epiphanies in regard to the directions that we're moving into this year. It's going to be a really big year, and I will likely be doing a Jupiter video just for this year. I just put up a Saturn video through Pisces, so I'm going to go through those. You will also likely be seeing me create more content. I'm going to be doing a series on addictions as a way of looking at how we can nutritionally support our body, because a lot of the things that we do by way of habits can be really depleting for our system. And the series isn't meant to be like a shaming or judging series. It's meant to be a supportive series so that people can learn how to support their bodies, whether they're trying to recover or not, because these substances we take into our bodies are really depleting, and in a lot of ways they can exacerbate things like depression and other nutritional deficiencies. So I'm making that series, and I'm going to be going through a different kind of substance that people get attached to every week, and I will be bringing in information in regard to nutritional support and herbal support and flower essence support for people who are interested in looking at that and working with that over the next couple of years or beyond, right? So I send you all a lot of love. I, of course, hope these videos are useful. If you feel like you know someone who would benefit from them, feel free to share them. I also appreciate your comments, because they make me feel connected to you wherever you are, and your likes, because they give me some support. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. I send you a lot of love. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.